We'll chant Om 3 times, followed by the invocation shlokas. ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति 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 समस्त जनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्. As we are covering the Upadesha Sara, we will do the Mangalacharna of Upadesha Sara. So let me paste the Mangalacharna shloka in the chat window for who may not have this shloka. And one of you please go off mute and please repeat after me. Antaryascha bahirvidutatimiram
Antaryascha bahirvidhur
tatimir
timiram
jyotirmayam shashvatam
jyotirmayam shashvatam
thanam prapya virajate vinamatam
sthanam prapya virajate vinamatam
ajnanamunmulayan
ajnana urmulayan
pashyan vishwamapidamullasatiyo
pashyan vishvam apidamu ullasiti yo. Sorry.
Vish, sorry, Vishwasya pare paraha
Vishwasya pare paraha
tasmai Shri Ramanaya Loka Gurave
tasmai Shri Ramanaya Loka Gurave
Shokasya Hantre Namaha.
Shokasya Hantre Namaha.
So in Upadesh Sara, Bhagavan Raman Maharshi Ji has covered 2 out of 4 margas. We have covered Karma Marga and Bhakti Marga. In last week's session, we talked comprehensively about Bhakti Yoga or Bhakti Marga. So we're not going to repeat any of that today. So instead, we are going to start with the third one, which is Yoga Marga. Yoga Marga here is referring to Ashtanga Yoga or Raj Yoga. Now, I want to first make a full disclaimer that my knowledge about Ashtanga Yoga is very minimal. So whatever I'm speaking specifically about Ashtanga Yoga may or may not be right. Okay, so you may have a better knowledge and there will be some mistakes in my understanding. So in case if there is a difference between your understanding and what I said, probably you are right. Okay, so with that, now Ashtanga Yoga, because the topic is going to be like, so Raman Maharshi is directly going to talk about pranayama aspect. We'll understand what this Ashtanga Yoga is all about. Yoga in Ashtanga Yoga is called as chitta vritti nirodha. So, vritti are thoughts. Thoughts of the mind, cessation of thoughts of the mind is yoga. That is the simple definition of Ashtanga Yoga. In Ashtanga Yoga, Ashta means 8, Anga means limbs. Okay, so it is eightfold yoga. There are 8 steps. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, then Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. Now, Yama and Niyama, Yamas means things that we should avoid, and Niyamas means things that we must do. So this means between Yama and Niyama, it is list of do's and don'ts. We start with Yama, meaning list of don'ts. What are the don'ts? Meaning like these are listed actually in terms of sometimes in negative, sometimes in positive. Okay. So ahimsa is the very first one. Ahimsa means non-violence. In non-violence, when they're talking about non-violence, it's an interesting thing is that entire Srishti, in entire creation or entire universe, violence is inbuilt. When we say violence is inbuilt, what do we mean is that at any given moment, something is being born and something is dying, or something is evolving and something is devolving. This is happening all the time, all the way, all over, including within our own body and within our mind. So, when anything is born, when a child is being born from mother, it is a suffering is there, a temporal suffering is there because one body is being split into 2 bodies. Whether it is a mother and child as a mammals, or whether a bird laying an egg, or in whatever phase, way, whether it's a birth or whether it's a death, it is always painful. And any change, if you look at any change, forget about birth and death, even at any level of change, the change requires something that is happening. A new state is being born and previous state is destroyed. So in every change, there is always a birth and death. So that means there is a violence. Okay? There is a himsa in this Srishti. Now, when we're talking about ahimsa at a very highest level, we are saying that the scriptures are saying that turn our attention from this Vyavaharika Jagat to Paramarthika Satya, where there is no change. Go from changeless state to change, go from constantly changing Maya, constantly changing world to that changeless Bhagavan. That is the ahimsa at the highest level. Okay. Now, in terms of day-to-day practices, don't do violence at physical level, at speech level, meaning don't hurt people with our words, and don't think negative thoughts which could hurt others. This is ahimsa. Satyam, Satya is truth. So that means what? Do not talk about asatyam. Okay, so don't say lies or something like that. But Satyam again, at the highest level, Satyam is one that is always true, which doesn't change, is changeless Brahman alone. Okay. So all our practices of Satya in our day-to-day practices should be leading to final ultimate Satyam, the ultimate Sat, which is Brahman. Asteya. Asteya meaning don't steal. Now, stealing, simple, right? Don't steal, don't steal anyone's possessions. Well, don't take anything that doesn't belong to you, whether it is money, whether it is name, okay, or like I mean, like don't take someone else did the work and don't take credit, okay, like that. So that is asteya. Now, again, from a Vedantic perspective, stealing implies there is something that doesn't belong to you and you are taking it without being an adhikari for that, without paying for that, without, okay. So, from a ultimate level, there's nothing to take, nothing to give, nothing to own, nothing to disown. Because in terms of Brahman, there is Kevala Brahma. There is nothing other than Brahma. There is nothing other than you. Okay. So that's what it is. And fourth one is Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya today, it is loosely translated to the celibacy. But Brahmacharyam in from a scriptural perspective is, we can think about two. Brahman charati iti brahmachari. Brahman, meaning where when the mind is reveling in Brahman and alone, when the mind is in Brahman alone, then who are you? When Brahman, when you, one who knows Brahman, Upanishad says, or scripture say, one who, the knower of Brahman becomes Brahman. The one who knows Brahman becomes Brahman. So if your mind is reveling in Brahman, then you become Brahman. So that's what we should do. So instead of, now, when I want something, that means what? My mind is not in Brahmacharya. That's the idea. Aparigraha. So now actually like from a practice perspective, Brahmacharya means have everything in moderation. And aparigraha is non-possessiveness, or like don't hold anything too much. Okay. So you have ability to buy 10 cars maybe. Okay. But don't have more than one car or two cars. Or have as many cars as you need, not more than that. Whether it is cars, number of cars, whether it is jewelry, whether it is shoes, whether it is toys, electronics, everyone has got their own weakness. So just be mindful about that. So these are yamas. Then niyamas. Niyamas meaning what we must do. Shaucham. Shaucham means cleanliness. Cleanliness is cleanliness of surroundings. As I'm saying that, I'm looking around my desk and it is full of papers and piles of papers all around. So I'm not, what you call, like, I'm only saying this, but I'm not eligible to discuss this. Right? Cleanliness is cleanliness of surroundings, cleanliness of the body, cleanliness of mind, meaning thoughts. This, all of this is important. This is shaucham. Santosham. Santosham means contentment. Contentment is be happy with whatever Bhagwan has given to us. Sometimes we may feel that it is not enough, but try to live with it. Sometimes you may get more than what you need, try to distribute it. So that's and be content. So that is santosha. Tapas. Tapas means, so suddenly what we get into mind is having a long beard, standing in on one leg like this in sun, and like the huge anthills around. Okay, that's a typical understanding of tapas. But here it is not that way. Tapas means it is having a dedication to something, to a divine thing, and you hold continually practice it, continually and continuously, meaning on a daily basis, you practice it and you practice it for a long term. And Swadhyaya. Swadhyaya means Swadhyaya. So that means self-study of scriptures on a daily basis. And then Ishvara Pranidhana is the last one, which is surrendering to Lord. These are the first two aspects of Ashtanga Yoga, Yama and Niyama. Then comes Asana. Now, in both Yama and Niyama, what is happening is that these are certain, many of these practices are done with mind. Some are done with probably with body also, but primarily mind is primary thing in all the yamas and niyamas that we discussed before. Now, asana is done with body. Now, what is the purpose of asana? You all know asanas, right? Yoga asanas. You all know yoga asanas. So, what is the purpose of asanas? Typically, we say asana is going to help us with good health and good everything. So, this is how we understand about asanas. Now, why does the Ashtanga Yoga focuses on asana? The thing is that as a yogi, for the upcoming next steps, okay, it is when you do pranayama, when you do pratyahara or dharana, dhyana or samadhi, for all following steps that are coming next, what you need to do is that you need to sit without moving in a proper position, proper posture for hours together. If you need to sit like that, what happens? You need to be in good health. Okay. So the purpose of these asanas are to maintain to have a good health to the body so you can attain spiritual progress, so that your body doesn't create an obstacle in the practice of this yoga. So this is asana. Then pranayama. Pranayama it is somewhat internal, but it's not too internal. Okay, so it is what is happening in pranayama, it is control of breath. So this is where Ramana Maharshi's focus is on pranayama with respect to the next couple of shlokas in terms of this yoga. Okay, Raja Yoga, Hatha Yoga. And then after pranayama, okay, so after pranayama comes pratyahara. Pratyahara is again Ashtanga Yoga is Patanjali, right? So Patanjali defines pratyahara as swavishaya asamprayoge chitta swarupanukara evendriyanam pratyahara. That's how this is the definition given by Patanjali ji. So what he says is swavishaye, right? From the objects, asamprayoge, disassociation. So disassociate what from the objects, dissociate from the objects. Who has to do? chitta, mind. And then what? Swarupa anukara. Okay. Indriyanam pratya. Okay. So that means now when mind is disassociated with the objects, from the objects, when the attention is taken away from the objects, what happens is that mind is going to follow its nature. And at the time, indriyas also will withdraw. So this withdrawal of indriyas or withdrawal of senses is called as pratyahara. So that way, why are we dropping our, again, see, like how we are developing. First, we are developing some willpower through yamas and niyamas. So then we are practicing asanas. There are 84 asanas, I believe. Okay, we are practicing those asanas so that the body is coming into good shape. Then with pranayama, the pranas are in good shape. Then we are withdrawing the mind. Why? When we withdraw the mind, what are we going to do? We are going to do the next step, which is dharana. Dharana, it is called as desha bandha chittasya dharana. So desha bandha, what does it mean is you are, desha means space. Okay, not like as in, like a location. Okay, desha is a location or a space. Now, this chitta is tied to a location. So that means what is happening is that there is a object in front of you and you are focusing all your entire attention on that object for prolonged time. So with your mind, okay, it is not just that you are looking at that, but you are observing it as well. Why this practice of dharana will help with the next step, which is dhyana. Dhyana, again, with respect to Patanjali, it is called Tatra Pratyayeka, sorry, Tatra Pratyayika Nata Dhyanam. So that means Pratyaya Eka Ekata. Okay, so that means that there the Pratyaya means the mind, the flow of thought is single flow of thought. So we in Vedanta, we slightly define it slightly different, which is not very different. The words that we use are slightly different. We say Sajatiya Vritti Pravaha is Dhyana. Sajatiya means similar flow of thoughts on a single object is called as Dhyana. Okay, so the object, obviously here in Dhyana, the focus is on the object is divine, right? So that is a Devi, a Bhagwan or some like that. So that will like our total focus is on that. Right? So Lord Rama, Lord Krishna, like that. So that is dhyana. Then that would lead to what happens is that today our thoughts are in multiple coming, our thoughts are coming from in multiple areas, right? So that means that at the same time, in the mind, I have thoughts about my family, I have thoughts about my work, I have thoughts about my friends, I have thoughts about things I did, things I have to do, and I am not going to do. Okay. And about what is going what is happening on the Wall Street, what is happening to the country, what is happening in Moscow, what is happening in Israel. Everything is bundled and they're all coming in various spurts. So whereas from there, in dhyana, what we are trying to do is we are trying to focus on one and getting rid of other thoughts. Okay, so when that is happening, eventually what happens is that pratyaya, we said, right? Pratyaya ekata, anata, right? So that pratyaya is going to disappear. That vritti is going to disappear. Vritti or pratyaya means thoughts, okay? Tadevartha matra nirbhasam swarupa shunyamiva samadhi. This is the definition of samadhi by Patanjali ji. He says, Tadeva arthamatra. Object of focus alone is there, right? And when that object of focus is there, then what happened? Initially, there are three things. When I'm focusing on one object, I am focusing on this object and I'm thinking that I am focusing on the object. So these three things are there. This is called as Triputi. Okay. And then the concept of I disappears, concept of I am focusing on that object also disappears. Only that object alone stays. And then after that, that object also disappears. And when that happens, that is called as Swarupa Shunyam. Iva. Okay. So Iva means as if you forgot yourself. So that as if I forgot myself is Chitta Vritti Nirodha. So because there is no more vritti or there is no more thought in mind, or so multiple thoughts to single thought to no thought. So this is uh, Yoga Shastra. Okay. So now what happened is that with respect to Atma Jnana, in Yoga Shastra, it comes up to this point, but from respect to Atma Jnana, what is Atma, etc., that knowledge is not given. Whereas in Advaita Vedanta, we fill the gaps that are there in Yoga Shastra. Okay. So this is a quick intro into Ashtanga Yoga. So normally I say, do you have any questions at this point? And today I'm a little bit what do you call, hesitant to ask that question. Do you have any questions? Because you may have questions for which I don't have answers, but still I'll ask you, do you have any questions that probably I can address? Okay, so we'll go with the 11th shloka. Okay. So I'll break down the 11th shloka. Vayu rodhanat liyate manaha. See, rodhanat and liyate together becomes rodhana liyate. Okay, so that is vayu rodhana liyate manaha. Jala pakshi vat, okay, pakshi vat, rodha sadhanam. So that pakshi vat and rodha become vadrodha. Okay? Jala pakshi vad rodha sadhanam. So one of you please go off mute and repeat after me. Vayurodhana liyate mana.
वायुरोधना लीयते मनः
Jalapakshivadrodha sadhanam.
जालपक्षिवध्रोदसाधनम्
Vayurodhanat manaha. So here, Vayurodhanat. Vayu means air. Yeah? Air, we have air all around us. And that air, when it enters through our nostrils into our body, that air becomes prana. Okay? So air, when it is in my body, is called as prana. So Vayu Rodhanat. Rodhana means holding on, okay, controlling. Okay. So controlling, through the controlling of this breath means what? It is referring to pranayama. So controlling of breath, okay, so what it is like Vayurodhanat liyate. Liyate meaning laya. Okay, liyate meaning mind appears as if it is stopped. Okay, when you stop your breathing, mind is stopped. So that's why, right? So whenever you, if someone is very anxiety and they're going on talking like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm like that, right? So what are you going to say? Stop. Okay. Take a deep breath. No, you take a deep breath now. You did that? Okay. Do a couple more times. Okay. Now tell me what happened. Right? So what happened is that we all know that when we take a deep breath, the mind also will relax. So this mind and our pranas have a connection. Okay. So that's why with pranayama, mind becomes still. As I'm controlling the pranas, mind is becoming still, right? So typically, if we want to say, control your mind, can I control my mind? No, I cannot control my mind. But if I control my pranas, automatically mind is controlled. Okay. So this is a means, uh, it is something like that. On a tree, you can, like there's a big branch, and that big branch has got two small branches. You can somehow get to the lower branch, but the fruits are on the higher branch. Now, if you hold on to this lower branch and hold it and like shake it up, the fruit from the higher branch will fall down. Okay. So, what is that? There used to be an old song from CID movie. Kahin pe ni, kahin hai ni, kahin pe nigaah hai, kahin pe nishana, like that. Okay. So your aim is somewhere, you're acting somewhere else. Okay. So to act on mind, you are acting on prana. Then what happens is that Jalapakshivat. Jalapakshi means a bird that is caught in a net. Okay, so when the bird gets caught in a net, in that way, this pranayama, Vayurodhana, is like that net, and it is a sadhanam. Sadhanam means an instrument of what? Rodha sadhanam. Rodha meaning like to control. Okay, right? Even this rodha, nirodha. Nirodha means stop. So rodha uh, uh, is basically ni is actually what we call as a prefix for rodha there. Okay, so this means this rodha sadhanam. So this is basically here the mind. So the bird is representing the mind, and what is that net? That net is pranayama. Okay, ayama meaning exercise. Pranayama means exercise of the mind. So we are holding the restless bird, which is mind, in the net by the control of breath. So this is a means, this is a sadhana to control rodha of the mind. Okay. So in all yogas, okay, so there is a karma yoga, bhakti yoga, the current one, and jnana yoga. Control of the mind is both. Okay. Now, when we say take whatever comes as prasada from Lord in karma yoga, what are we saying? Control your mind. Okay. Because whatever comes, be happy. So that means what? Your mind must be controlled. In bhakti yoga, what did we say? Bhava shunya sad, bhava susthiti. Right? So bhava shunya, shunya, empty. Bhava shunya, empty of feelings or empty of thoughts. Okay, that is the best time. Meaning what? That is control of the mind. Is the goal in Bhakti Yoga. In Raja Yoga, it also focuses on mind. Now, this in this in pranayama, in controlling of breath, there are two types of breath control. Okay, one is called as pratishtambana. Okay, one is called as pratishtambana, And second one is called as Niyamana. Niyamana and Pratishtambhana. Now, Pratishtambhana is, like you hear the word Pratishtambhana, Niyamana, Pratishtambhana, the word itself is little harsh. Okay, so even they, it is also harsh on the mind compared to Niyamana. Pratishtambhana means it is to hold strongly. That is a strong block on the mind. Niyamana means it is holding the mind gently. Okay. Anything that you hold strongly requires, if you hold something strongly without proper care, you may break it. Right? So in Pratishtambhana, it is said, Hathena kumbhakasya sadhanam pratishtambhana bhavati. Hatha itself, again, ha and tha, actually it is Hatha Yoga, right? Hatha Yoga itself means that it is the etymological root of Hatha is Himsa. Okay? That means Himsa means what? Himsa means it is you are forcefully doing something. What are we doing in this? We are doing three things. Rechaka, Puraka, and Kumbhaka. Or Puraka, Kumbhaka, and Rechaka. That's probably better order. Puraka means what? Inhale. Right? Puraka is inhale, right? Okay. So Puraka is inhale. Now, normally what you do, you're just inhaling whenever it is needed. Now what you're doing, inhale. Now, once you inhale, what are you doing? Kumbhaka comes. Kumbhaka means hold. So when you hold, after inhalation, it is called as Antar Kumbhaka, meaning inner Kumbhaka. Okay. So inner hold. So you even is holding breath after you inhale, is it natural process? No. That is also a forceful thing. So what you did, you inhaled and then you held inside. And then the instructor, you're looking at the instructor, when is he going to say exhale? When is he going to exhale? And he finally says, exhale. Then, then you exhale. That is Rechaka. Now, when you exhale, what does the instructor going to say? Exhale completely, as if the whole balloon is empty. Your lungs should be completely empty. Now, that's not a natural thing, but you do it. And then what? Then Bahaya Kumbhaka comes, which is stop breath now. You exhale completely, you don't breathe yet. I mean, don't inhale yet. So, in all of these, right, you see that there are things are there. So, because this is a strict process is there, this prana is connected to, like it is when we inhale, we said, right? Even though the prana is a typical name that we use, pranas are 5, right? Pancha pranas we say, right? What are, like, what do you say? Prana, right? Prana, Vyana, Apana, Samana, Udana, right? So five pranas are there. So that means what? Inhalation is one aspect, exhalation is one aspect. Everything in our body is digesting because of pressure. So that means that the pranas themselves are responsible for digestion of our food. Now, once that food is digested, okay, the blood circulation is also the movement of that blood throughout our body is happening because of pranas alone. And that food that is digested by us and that strength is pushed, is sent, is is distributed to all over our body and nourished all of that through the blood. So, and that's also like heart pumping, etc. All that movement of heart is also because of pranas alone. So these pranas are connected to all of our vital aspects. So now, when you play around with these pranas, you need to have a very good teacher. Okay, and someone who has got experience, someone who has learned through a proper system. If someone says that I have created a new methodology, okay, so new pranayama methodology, this is bigger, better, newer, don't go. Go to someone who says, we teach Ashtanga Yoga according to Patanjali, then go. If someone says that, okay, this is a hot yoga, or actually, I don't know whether hot yoga or is a pranayama is there or not, but some newer variations, etc., please be careful, because that prana is linked to all parts of the body. Now, then I don't have a proper teacher and I don't have much, tell me something more simple. And our Shastras are very good at that. Oh, you can't do that? No? Okay, I'll tell you some simple way. They say that. Right? So there, the simple way is what? Niyamana. So the definition of niyamana is satatam yatayata pratyavekshanat niyamanam bhavati. So that is satatam yata ayata pratyavekshanam. Basically, it is watch the breath. In a simple language. So as we watch the breath, the mind becomes steady and breath becomes calmer. You don't need to do any pranayama or anything like that, right? So actually, like what we do in our meditation is this prana vikshana. A simplified but very powerful, very effective control of pranayama is this niyamana. In fact, in Ramana Gita itself, pranarodhascha manasa pratyavekshanam. This is this pratyavekshanam, meaning this niyamanam, is considered as king of all pranayamas. Okay, so for restless minds, okay, for restless minds, pratishtambana is recommended. But if the mind is somewhat still, we don't need to practice anything special. Niyamana, which is enough. So now, when you do prana vikshana, when we do prana vikshana means like, okay, when you're sitting and just observing your breath, sometimes you feel like there's no breath at all. I'm not breathing at all. Okay. Don't be scared at that time. Okay, am I going to die now because I'm not breathing? No, no, no. The body knows to breathe when it requires that. But when you are observing, what happens is that, okay, I'm inhaling. All we need to do is observe inhalation and exhalation. You don't actively do inhalation or exhalation. Okay, so like, oh, I need to inhale now. I just exhale, so I need to inhale. No, I had to stop for a while before I inhale. Nothing like that. Let body take care of itself. You are just being a witness. So when we are doing that, this is very beneficial. So there is a book called Jivan Mukti Viveka by Swami Vidyaranya Swamiji. He covers a lot of about Pranavikshana in that. Okay. So the goal of this particular text is not turning us to Ashtanga Yogi. Instead, what it is doing is it is giving us the overview of all different paths. Okay. So now this shloka has said that to control the mind, there is a way. What is the way? That is pranayama. Okay. Now it is going to give a little bit more details about that in the next shloka. So do you have any questions before we go to the next shloka?
Venkatji, I send a link. That's for, there is a very good whole edition of that magazine is on Ashtanga Yoga. So I just sent in if somebody wants to
Okay.
download the seat. Yeah.
Thanks, Rajiv ji. That's helpful. Okay, yeah, if anyone else wants to, please click on the link right now, because when we close the call, we won't be able to, the link won't be available. So, okay. So, next, Bhagwan is talking about this same. I mean, why does this control happen? That's what is describing in the next shloka. Shloka number 12. Chitta, I'll break down the verse. Okay. Chitta, Vayavat. Okay. Chitta, Vayavat, Chit, Kriya, Yudaha. Okay. So, Chitta, Vayavaha, Chit, Kriya, Yudaha becomes Chitta, Vayava, Chit, Kriya, Yudaha. That's how it becomes. Okay. Shakhayoho dvayi. Shakhayoho dvayi together becomes Shakhayor dvayi. Shakti Mulaka. Okay. So please repeat after me. Chittavayava Chitriyayuta.
चित्तवायवश्चित्क्रियायुताः
Shakhayor Shakti Mulaka.
शाखयोर्द्वयी शक्तिमूलका
So Chit Kriyayutaha Chittavayavaha. So Chitta possesses Chit. Vayavaha possesses Kriya. So that means knowledge is associated with mind, and pranas are associated with action. Okay. So now Chit Kriya Yuta. Now let us understand, let's go back a little bit to the basics of Vedanta. We studied about Panchakosha Viveka a while ago. Do we remember what are the 5 koshas? Starts with Annamaya Kosha, followed with Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Jnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. Now, what are the contents of Pranamaya Kosha?
body.
Body is Annamaya Kosha.
You already said earlier, those prana, pan, pan, Vyam.
Oh, those are five pranas, yes.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Pranamaya Kosha, what does Pranamaya Kosha contain?
Prana itself, pranamaya kosha.
But in addition to Pranamaya, okay. That's right. So Pranamaya Kosha contains mind and karmendriyas also. Okay, manas and karmendriyas. And what are the contents of Manomaya Kosha?
Intellect.
Kosha again contain. You don't have to guess, it's all right. Okay.
Mind again, mind and intellect.
So Manomaya Kosha again has this manas and Jnanendriyas. Jnanendriyas are part of Manomaya Kosha. Karmendriyas and mind are part of Pranamaya Kosha. Okay. So now you see this mind is both in Pranamaya Kosha and Manomaya Kosha. Okay? Mind is there both in Pranamaya, which is our physiological sheath, and Manomaya, which is our mental sheath. So, now Karmendriyas, what do Karmendriyas do? Organs of action, they perform action. Obviously, they act. So, because of that, what we say is the Kriya Shakti is associated with Pranamaya Kosha. Okay? The ability to perform Kriya Shakti is associated with Pranamaya Kosha. Now, Manomaya Kosha, what it have? Mind and Jnanendriya. So, ability to Jnanendriyas are what are the organs of senses? They are capturing knowledge from our surroundings, and mind is assimilating and basically between Mana, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara, between all of them, what are they doing? They are trying to understand, they are comparing, they are analyzing, they are comparing with what they have already learned and enriching what their knowledge is, etc. So all of this is Jnana Shakti. So we say Maya has three Shaktis. Okay? Maya has three Shaktis. Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Ichha Shakti. Okay. So Ichha Shakti is, Ichha means
Desire.
desire. Okay. Desire power is based upon that Shakti is in, we covered Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, then what is that? Anandamaya Kosha. That Ichha Shakti is going to be there in Anandamaya because this, there is ignorance. Ichha, desire is based upon ignorance. Ignorance about my true nature is causing me to be desirous of the objects from the external world. Okay. So because of Maya, which has created Avarana Shakti, because of its Avarana Shakti, because of its veiling power, I forgot my true identity. When I forgot my true identity, I am limiting myself to this body. And as I'm limiting to this body, what I'm saying is that anything that is outside of this body is not me. And hence, I want more of this from the external world. So that way, I feel bigger and better. Okay, so that is Ichha Shakti. But our focus is primarily on the other two, Kriya Shakti and Jnana Shakti. So Ichha Shakti again is connected to, from a Guna's perspective, Ichha Shakti is connected to Tamo Guna, Tamas. Kriya Shakti is connected to Rajoguna, and Jnana Shakti is connected to Sattva Guna. Okay? So that Shakti here, you see here in this shloka, why are we talking about this Shakti, etc. is Shakhayor Dvayi Shakti Mulaka. There. Okay? So Shakhayor Dvayi Shakti Mulaka is that this Shakha. Okay? This Shakti has got two branches. And it is as if these two branches are connected to the same trunk. So that because of that, if I pull down one branch, another branch is also pulled. So what is the branch we are pulling down? The lower branch, prana. Why are we pulling? So we can reach the higher branch. Okay. So both Kriya Shakti and Jnana Shakti are two branches originating from the same place. And this Parameshwara Shakti This Maya Shakti is source for both Kriya and Jnana. Okay. So, because the mind is subtler, I cannot control the mind. But prana is relatively grosser, so I can actually control the pranas a little bit. Through the prana, we are trying to master the mind. So that's why even in our meditation, what we do, first we do a body scan and keep our body still. Once our body is still, what are we doing in the next step? We are doing
Mind.
prana vikshana, right? When we do prana vikshana, what happens? When we say just focus on breath, okay? No need to change the pace of breath. Just observe. What happens when you start observing breath? The speed of thoughts in the mind are reduced, slowed down. The mind becomes somewhat calmer. When that mind is calmer, then there is more freedom to practice whatever we want to. Then what we are doing is we are introducing japa and shloka like that, step by step. But the first thing that we did to control our mind is this prana shakti, right? This pranayama, okay? This niyamana, this prana vikshana is what we did. The purpose is to control, because what happens is so then what happens that we will see in our next session. It's about 8:30, so I'll pause here and see, actually I'll stop here and see if you have any questions. So if there are no questions, shall we close then?
It will come after. The questions will come after. It has to sink in first.
Yeah. So if you have any questions, please do feel free to email.
I will.
Sorry, send us through WhatsApp, and I don't think you have the ability to send a question in the WhatsApp group itself. So send it directly to me, and I'll answer and post it in the group. Okay. पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ. Thanks everyone.